And so I'm going to show you what the discriminant is, and then I'm going to show you what that means, and then we're going to talk about how you can just not do the whole quadratic formula, but you could just do that one little part, and it tells you about the answers that you're going to get. And sometimes I just want to know if an answer exists. I don't want you to do the whole quadratic formula to do that. So the discriminant, let's just write down right next to it, what I'm referring to is just the part b squared minus 4 times a times c. Can you see b squared minus 4 times a times c? That's what, when I say do the discriminant, that's what I'm referring to. Do you notice in the quadratic formula, where do you find that? Underneath the square root. Do you notice when I'm just checking it though, I'm not going to put it underneath the square root because today I'm not going to have you go all the way through. I'm just going to have you check it and what does it mean? So here's what it means. If you want, you can kind of make 3 categories. Okay, that's really our summary of today. If you take, option number 1 is if you take b squared minus 4 times a times c, and you get a value that is less than 0. I'm not going to write this down, but you might write, if you don't know what this means, you might write a negative number. Okay. What that means is that there are no real solutions. No real solutions. Let me give you a picture. No real solutions on a graph. Solutions occur when the parabola hits the x-axis. So what would no real solutions look like then, do you think? Something that doesn't hit the x-axis. So maybe a parabola, it's still going to be a parabola. It could be a parabola up here it's opening up and its vertex is above the x-axis, or it could be a parabola down here, but it would be opening down with a vertex below the x-axis. We're going to draw a picture of no solutions, so no real solutions. Okay. Okay, so that is one thing that could happen. Okay, second thing that could happen is you could evaluate b squared minus 4ac and it equals exactly 0. And what we just talked about is what happens when the square root equals 0? How many solutions does it produce? Do you remember my little work on the board? 1. Okay, so when that happens, there is just one real solution. Okay. So b squared minus 4ac is a negative number. There's no real solutions. There's a little picture of your graph. Then when b squared minus 4ac equals 0, there's one real solution. On the graph, that means it has to touch just once. How do we do that? Any suggestions? Ooh, we ran into this one time before. When I told you x-intercepts and the vertex were the same thing, okay? So you're absolutely right. What Austin was saying was that the vertex is on the x-axis. So we're going to draw a parabola that has a vertex on the x-axis. That's what one solution looks like. Three. B squared minus 4 times A times C is greater than 0. If you don't know what that means, then you're going to write positive underneath there. And when b squared minus 4ac is positive, this has two real solutions. Two real solutions. Okay. All right, would you draw a parabola that hits the x-axis twice, please? So parabola, and then make it hit the x-axis 2 times. Okay. How are we feeling about that? Thanks, Bryce. Anyone else? I know some of you have seen it before. Do you need any more explanation on situation 1, 2, or 3? Okay. One word about this, okay? I'll just put a little star below here. There are two kinds of positive numbers you could get here. Sometimes, let's say I got a number like 25. B squared minus 4ac is 25. They got a 25 under there. Can you take the square root of 25? And it's exact, right? I like that. I like that when that happens because it's nice, I know it. Those are called rational answers, okay? So sometimes the book might say, are the answers rational? Yeah, if it's a perfect square and they're rational, if you want to jot that down because you're not going to remember that. Perfect square, I'm going to put a square. Perfect square means rational. Rational answers are whole numbers, or you're going to have a fraction. They're nice numbers. Not a perfect square. Well, let me give you not a perfect square numbers. I don't know. How about the square root of 10? Do you know what that is? It's not 5. I don't know what it is. Somewhere, it's something between 3 and 4, right? If it's not a perfect square, we get answers that are rounded and they're kind of yucky. Those are called irrational. So if I ask you that question today, I might ask that question today when we do some practice. I will never ask that question on a test. The only question I would ask on a test is how many solutions does something have, or what I might ask what makes this have a certain number of solutions. But you might see that today, and that's all that means. Okay. Okay, so the last thing that we're going to do is I'm going to just have us look at one, and we're going to talk about how you can figure out what value one of either the A, B, or C has to be to make it have the correct number of solutions. And then I thought today that what I would do is I would have you guys do some practice if we get to it. I don't know if we're going to get to it. On Google Classroom through Savvis or online textbook, instead of doing bookwork or worksheet or something like that. So, first question. How many solutions does x squared plus 5x plus 9 equals 0 have? How many solutions does x squared plus 5x plus 9 equal 0 have? We're not going to go all the way through quad formula. Okay, here's your job right now. Would you just calculate for me b squared minus 4ac and write it down on your paper, okay? You're just going to calculate b squared minus 4ac. All my pens are right. Okay, so I'm going to calculate that, and I'm going to use my little chart above. 5 squared minus 4 times, what's A? And C is 9. Okay, so I have 25 minus 36, which is, which one? Negative 11. Okay. What kind of number is that? Negative. So what would the answer to that question be? This has no real solutions. Okay, that's how that works. The second thing that I want you to be able to do is to be able to find some values in a quadratic that would produce either no, 1, or 2 solutions. So we're going to find a value of b so that 2x squared plus bx plus 18 equals 0 has one solution. So we're going to find a value of b so that 2x squared plus bx plus 18 equals 0 has one solution. All right, would you go up to my chart at the top? What does the discriminant have to be to have one real solution? Has to be equal to 0. So what we're going to do is we're going to write an equation for the discriminant. We're going to plug in what we know, and we're going to set it equal to 0. Something like this is only going to have a set answer. If I wanted it to be positive, there would be I could pick a lot of answers that worked, and I might say, give me 1, or same thing with negative. But this one is real specific. I don't know B, right? Do I know A and C though? Okay, so let's write down what we know. We know B squared, we're gonna leave it as B squared. I know this A is 2, C is 18. I'm trying to make this equal 0. Okay, what do we get here? Am I hearing b squared minus 144 equals 0? Is that what I'm hearing? Can somebody else just give me a thumbs up so they hear? Okay, good. I know you're out there. So can you figure out what would b have to be to make that true? Can somebody just see? Can some of you just see what it has to be? A couple of you can. Okay. What's another way you could do it? Like, could I move the 144 and take the square root of both sides if I wanted to? Yeah? I'll show that way just in case you didn't see it and you need a way. We could just take the square root of 144. Don't forget the something. I've been saying it like all last week. What do I need to put in front of my square root here? Plus or minus 12. Were some of you thinking 12 in your heads? Okay. Don't forget also negative 12 squared would work too. Okay. So I might ask you to do some of that as well. Okay. Because we only have 5 minutes left,